G'day there, fanatics. I'm here with Wal, and how do you describe it? We had a fanboy time a couple of weeks ago. Will was fanboying hard. We went to the Redcliffe Dolphins. We were invited by Mick Sutton from AUSGAP and by Simon Adaman from Lawn Solutions, and we got to speak to a guy who is, what would you say, one of the most important people in turf, one of the clearest, brainiest guys in turf.
Yeah, they're the people that find the grasses that we don't know we have yet, and they end up on our home lawns, and we reap the rewards and benefits of it. So Professor Brian Schwartz, who bred Tiftuf, we got the opportunity to have a pretty lengthy conversation with him.
Yeah, it was cool too, wasn't it? He's a good guy.
Yeah.
Like, for a bloke who's got a mullet lawn.
Does have a mullet lawn.
Does have a mullet lawn.
It's crazy.
He's a
but
great
it's
guy.
But it's
really
all about
good guy.
It's all about history for those plant breeders, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's fascinating talking to him about what makes him tick, what makes how did he get into that, you know, and how he breeds the grasses that he does.
Yeah.
And then we got the flip side of the coin, and we got Billy Skaggs from AUSGAP talking about how they ensure that those new grasses that they bring to market.
So we'll cover off on Billy in a second, but we'll do Brian, and then we'll do a separate introduction for Bill.
All right.
So Brian was, well, he's amazing. Like, he's a lawn freak. Like, the amount of research that they put into Tiftuf, I think you'll see in this video, it was something like 27,000 varieties.
Yeah.
They went through to find and selectively breed Tiftuf.
Which is just so much effort.
Like, it was 10 years in the making, wasn't it?
Yeah, probably even longer.
Probably longer. And that's, you know, it's a career type thing, is to develop one type of grass. And not a big fan of Kikuyu. Well, the USA is not a big fan. It's listed as a noxious weed over there. So, yeah, it's just amazing. Like, these guys devote half their working career to breeding one grass. Yeah. What a grass it is. Like,
yeah.
The drought tolerance is amazing. It's you see it you see it in fanatics lawns everywhere, and it's coming up.
I think we're finding more out about it as we go along too, like how cold tolerant it is. Like, we've seen fanatics go through super cold weather of late. Like, it's probably been one of the cooler winters for a long time, and one of the wetter winters. But you know, it holds up. It's held up. It's probably held up more than most other cooches, or probably than all the other cooches on the market. So, you know, we're talking, you know, frost after frost, and it's still got green and colour.
But also, it's I suppose we haven't seen the best of its drought resistance yet in Australia, because I suppose it. Well, particularly the last couple of years, because it's been so wet. But those who have Tiftuf will really get a benefit from its low nutrition requirements, and just how good it does
with not a lot,
without water. It does a lot with very little. So it's an amazing turf, and Professor Brian was the guy who bred it. He's the guy who invented it. So here's our chat with Brian. So you doctor or professor or
Brian, unless you want to call me Dr. Schwartz, but I prefer Brian.
All right.
Totally up to you, but I prefer Brian.
Right. G'day there, fanatics. Lenny here, and I'm with Brian Schwartz, who is technically Dr. Brian Schwartz, who is the guy who founded Tiftuf, the inventor or the breeder of Tiftuf.
Well, thank you for having me.
No worries, mate. Welcome to Australia. We've brought you down at the right time of year.
Absolutely.
Just going into winter, bucketing down rain every day.
Yeah, it's great to
make a good impression, they say. So tell us a bit about yourself, and how are you involved in the release of Tiftuf?
Sure. So I'm a professor at the University of Georgia, but a big team of about 12 of us there. And the development of Tiftuf started in 1992 with Dr. Wayne Hanna and the team then, and when I came in 2009, he set me up with some experimental plots and said the next variety's probably in here somewhere, so you need to research it.
Yeah, nice. So you just basically go around the plots and find what's good and what's bad and sort of zero in on that?
That's it. So he made over 27,000 hybrids and whittled it down to 27,000. Yeah, so that was a big effort.
Seriously? One of them might actually grow in my front yard.
Yeah, absolutely. No, so by 2009 when I showed up, he had whittled it down to 24 or 28, and they were all good. Yeah. But he gave me kind of the job. If you research these for drought, for wear, for mowing, for scalping, recovery, there's probably another variety in here. So that's where he left it to me.
Yeah, so my front yard has got a lot of shade issues. We've got a lot of overhanging trees, so I'm finding it real tough to grow anything there at the moment.
Absolutely.
So from a turf science perspective, what's so good and so special about Tiftuf?
Yeah, so over in the States, we only have funding to develop drought-tolerant grasses.
Yep, and that's fair enough. The way the world goes is conservation of water, and the economical use of water is where we're going, isn't it?
It is. That was the #1 reason for the release of Tiftuf.
Yep.
Fortunately, it had some good wear recovery.
Yep.
It had good spring color, fall color, and it could recover from a lot of mistakes that homeowners and all of us make. So that was the basis.
Yeah. We're standing on your baby now at Redcliffe Dolphins. Yeah. The new NRL franchise, and they've spoiled it, mate. They've put bloody ryegrass on it.
Hey, that's part of this time of year, isn't it?
Yeah. What's the impact of Tiftuf? What do you think it's having on the industry, both domestically and commercially?
So back home, we released it. It became available about 2015, and everything new is slow at first. But we just hit 1 billion square feet, which I think is 105 million square meters.
Wow.
Tiftuf sold. So from home lawns to sports fields.
Yep.
2015 planted on a little high school, community football field. 2021 it was the Super Bowl field. So
nice.
So big growth there, and we're running with it. There's a lot of good varieties, and it's neat that we're one of them.
So just on that point, how does it compare with some of the other Bermuda or Cooch varieties that are on the market now?
So
entering the market.
Yeah, the old standard for us is Tifway, released in the 1960s. I think for y'all it might be Santa Ana.
Santa Ana or Wintergreen or something along those lines. Yeah.
So our goal is to beat those, and we're beating Tifway. And at home, I hope we're giving Santa Ana and Wintergreen and others a good run here.
And is that just for going back to the drought tolerance more than anything?
So for sure drought tolerance, but a lot of just the toughness. And so it got that name not just because of marketing. It was throw it down. If you don't water enough, fine. If it gets too much traffic from high-end sports players to a dog and a kid. Well, that's a lot of our members struggle with having dogs and kids and maintaining a good lawn. It's always traditionally been, you make a choice. Do you want kids and a dog, or do you want a good lawn? It's just no easy fix, but these days you can with the new hybrids like Tiftuf. Well, you can, or you can make a run at it, but as you know, too much shade, we might not be the best choice if you got kids and dogs, but we hope we're better than the old varieties. And none of these are perfect, and we're just doing our best to find the best we can for the time we have. So.
Yeah, well, we're going to do a lot more on preparation for laying turf and make sure that it's got a good environment to grow and then treating it right once it's grown.
That's key.
Because this is a low nutrition turf.
It is. If you overfeed this one and you have rain and sunshine, you're gonna be growing and scalping, and then you're weakening.
It's like a fat kid with a birthday cake.
It is like a fat kid with a birthday cake.
Yeah, that's it.
I like that. I like that.
So what are you hoping to see and achieve while you're here in Australia? You're probably hoping to see some sunshine, but we've let you down dismally.
So we saw a day of sunshine, so we got that. But I'll go home to a lot of sunshine right now.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
This trip was about relationships for me. I got to come out briefly in 2019, and it was fast and a whirlwind, and you see stadiums, you see people, and before you know it, you're on a plane back home.
That's it, yeah.
But I've gotten to sit down with folks, meet them, their kids, their grandkids, hear the story, be here with you today, spend more than 5 minutes. We've been here an hour already, and just learn about everything that's here.
Yeah, cool. That's great. Yeah. Well, I'll invite Will into the conversation now. Have you got anything you want to ask Brian?
Yeah. Yep. I'll come around this side.
Yep. I'll pass a little expensive microphones over.
Oh yeah, this way.
Perfect.
G'day Brian, how you going?
Oh great man, thank you for having me.
So I've got heaps of questions because Lenny's come from the home lawn background, the renovating background. I've come from a research background.
Mm-hmm. I haven't finished silly questions yet. I've got more silly questions to come.
Okay. I can't wait.
And so the interesting thing for me is I've come through academia and I've read so many peer-reviewed scientific papers that have been churned out by Georgia University and yourself and your predecessors. And I think the thing that would probably hit home for the fanatics is just how much of a juggernaut Tifton, Georgia is. Because more than likely, I don't think any of them either wouldn't have played on a surface that's come out of Tifton in Georgia. So they've probably played on Tiff to Wharf or a Tiff 328 bowling green.
Yeah.
They've probably played golf on a Tiff Eagle golf green or something in Australia. And that's the thing that's amazing. Does that amaze you working for them? Like the institution that place is?
So I just wanted a job when I graduated. And when I applied for this one, it was a long shot, and as you mentioned, turf breeding starting in the 1930s, Dr. Burton taken over by Dr. Hanna in the 70s, and then to come into there, it's almost like a spoiled little kid, because I certainly am riding their coattails and hope to do good with that in the future, but absolutely one of the best jobs for what I do in the whole country, maybe the world.
Yeah.
So what sort of lawn do you run at your house?
I have a Tiftuf front lawn, and I have a buffalo.
You know what we call that? You've got a lawn mullet.
Yeah.
Party at the back, business at the front.
That is
a lawn mullet.
It's like
a lawn
Smith.
mullet.
Yeah.
We have actually talked about this just at home in the shop, but that's an official term here. I love it.
Mullet.
Yeah.
We have a lawn mullet. I'm gonna tell
And if
my
you
wife.
go the other way, it's a lawn frullet. It's like the emo of lawns. So you get like the longer out the front, shorter out the back.
This is awesome.
So what buffalo? Fill Lenny in on what the buffalo is. It's interesting.
Yeah. So my major professors was at the University of Florida, named Kevin Kenworthy. He released one called Citra Blue, and so I had the first Citra Blue lawn in Georgia, right up from Florida. So
nice. There you go.
What's would any of the fanatics probably laid other lawns that have come out of Georgia or had Georgia's had something to do with, like as far as buffaloes or zoysias or anything go? Like,
yeah, so no buffalo from University of Georgia. One of the original zoysias was Emerald, was co-released out of Georgia back in the 50s, and that's been in a lot of lawns and a lot of places.
What does he think of carpet grass?
Carpet grass. Which carpet grass are we talking? Ours or yours?
Axonopus compressus.
Yeah, so we don't have much.
Yeah.
But we don't have much, but it's in the wet areas for sure.
Yeah.
Greg, I always say that it grows where other grasses are scared to grow.
Yep. So for
It
us,
loves adversity.
yeah.
Just loves it.
So one, we have centipede grass and carpet grass mix a lot.
Centipede grass never really got uptake here, and it's such an interesting grass. And I know, like, as researchers, you become interested in specific turf grasses. Is there any kind of grasses that you've never worked on yet that you've looked at and been like, oh, that's really fascinating, like that would be interesting to do more work in that area?
Yeah, so for me it would be pushing our cool season grasses south is something that I had never worked with and did for a little bit and decided I probably shouldn't. So tall fescue or something. Bahia grass is a big one for us, so that's a paspalum that's very drought tolerant. Its only problem being seed heads you have to mow all the time. Man, so I get to talk Super Bowls and golf courses and high-end stuff, but one of the most used grasses we just mentioned, is centipede grass. So Tiff Blair, developed by Dr. Hanna, that's in our top 10 grasses out of top 10 plants at the University of Georgia. And it's just a low input.
So grasses that we have here that you might not have a lot to do with, like Queensland Blue and Kikuyu.
Okay.
You'll see plenty of that. I think you've seen it before, but you'll see plenty of it on the surrounds at STRI tomorrow. Queensland Blue.
What is Queensland Blue?
Queensland Blue is Digitaria didactyla.
Okay.
And so on most herbicide labels, like its family would come up as summer grass. Yeah. It's probably in this broadly in the summer grass family, but It's originally from the Mascarene Islands in off the coast of South Africa.
Yep.
And in the 40s they brought it over here because it had such a wide array of cutting heights, and it was such a good lawn grass. So you could cut it anywhere from a bowling green up to a... And there's only been ever 2 vegetative genotypes brought out, but there's been no real breeding work done on it. It's kind of probably the centipede grass.
No rhizomes.
Yeah, no rhizomes, but maybe you could breed for more root biomass or something. But
so Digitaria, when you said that, Dr. Kenworthy back in grad school had us working on that some. So I have some, but never with my own program. Like you said, kind of a neat grass, but some difficulties to overcome for not only the end user, but your intermediate sod producer.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the other one you mentioned, so Queensland Blue, and then what was the next one?
Kaikiu.
So we can't work on that one. It's federally outlawed. It's a noxious weed.
Yeah, right.
When I got to Tifton,
Some of us think that too.
when I got to Tifton, in our cold room was a bag of kike seed. And I asked Dr. Hanna, what is this? He said, that's a noxious weed, don't mess with it. I said, can I germinate 100 seeds? He said, you shouldn't. So I did. And I kind of saw what he meant by noxious weed pretty quickly. It was
out of control.
It looked like it was going to be invasive, so we killed it.
It's like, so they wiped out smallpox virus a long time ago.
We've had that.
Kept a couple of samples for research purposes.
Yeah. So we killed it, put it back in the cold room.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Interesting. You mentioned shade before, Len, and it's a massive one. I think we get it a lot. You know, like all the traits. Like grasses have traits, but not other ones. So like things that grow well on sports fields. And I know back in the day when I was at SGI, we like forecast that the next 90 stadiums, due to World Cups and things, were going to be built in warm season climates. And warm season grasses need a lot of light under traffic. Do you have any grasses in your stable coming through, or are you doing work on grasses that grow like cooch, like have all those traits like wear tolerance, drought tolerance, but handle the shade? Is that even possible in turf breeding? So
on the federal level, all they care about is drought, but everyone else wants shade tolerance. I mean, everybody wants else. So, man, that's something I picked up in 2009. I heard it again here in 2019. So in our Bermuda cooch breeding program, that's the pretty well #1 selection criteria outside of drought. I have some that are pretty impressive. It's going to take a while to work them through the system, but neat advances there. And then on the zoysia grass side, they have shade tolerance usually, but they don't recover as well. So I'm currently screening for making sure they are shade tolerant, but seeing if they'll grow faster. Have some actually a lot of luck with that. There's an experimental trial with Lawn Solutions here right now where we're growing them, and one of those is doing really well in this environment here with some of the sod farmers, and that's kind of an exciting one to follow for me.
So it's shade tolerant and good recovery, good growing, good establishment.
Probably the #1.
Might have to talk to him about putting that in my front yard as an experiment.
Yeah. Well, hey, we can line up some guys to the sidelines there and see if they'll do it for you. But
I'll tackle them in a minute.
There's a couple of yards looking for grasses like that.
Well, because the Australian backyard or front yard is getting smaller, and there's a lot of estates now where you can actually build your house on the boundary line. So your lawn space is right next to someone's 2-story house. So
that's a tough environment for grass.
It's a tough environment for grass.
Yeah, it's building shade. It's grasses that probably won't get sun for a few months of the year in winter, and then we'll get sun for 9. And I think there's zoysias that handle that now, but they don't handle it because of the growth rate. They'll get shaded, they'll shut down, and then the sun will come up, and then 3 months later the zoysia will be like, oh, I've got sun now, and then it'll start growing. I think if we can solve that, if you can solve that,
there you go. You
solve it together.
Little goal.
I suppose the fascinating thing about a grass like Tiftuf is the length of time it comes to the market, and we heard you say before it was 26,000 crosses initially that you started with, and you dwindled it down to what became Tiftuf. Can you explain to the fanatics in a simple kind of way what it takes, like what is, like, how do you do turf breeding, and not only like breeding the grass itself, but the kind of trial work alongside that to show that something's drought tolerant? Or can you explain that a little bit?
Absolutely. So it's pretty simple. You're tall, and your wife is smart. You hope your kids are tall and smart, maybe. So we're doing that shade tolerant, maybe drought tolerant. We mix those two parents together. The problem is grass genetics are such that the successful hybrids are very low percentage. So 1%, 2%. So to get 20,000, you may be trying for, I don't know, 500,000, a million, and most of them are nothings. They're empty florets, they're germinate and die type of things. So that's the problem with grass breeding in general, is the chromosomes don't line up very well. So, but from that point, you start running with it. In Tifton, Georgia, for reasons way other than turf, is a great place to breed new crops. So we're there, the research station has been there 100 years. It's the center of peanut breeding, cotton breeding, vegetable breeding, ornamentals, turf in our little region, and it's so crappy there, it's a perfect place to things.
Just a good climate for growing things.
It is. So we're sandy, so we'll dry out within a 2-week period, but then we get rains and we'll get waterlogged, so you get your disease. The swings in environments and weather cause bad things to plants, as we were talking about earlier.
And it gets cold as well?
We freeze 3 to 6 times a year, but then it'll be, I don't know, 70 degrees my temperature. I'm not sure what that is.
That'd be mid-20s?
Yeah, so you go from freezing.
Degrees, so it's 38 is freezing, is that right?
32, yep.
32, so yeah.
Man, we're doing math out here.
Oh,
good night.
Celsius, you double and add 20, and that's Fahrenheit.
But so we'll go in and out of that, which causes problems.
Yeah.
And before you know it, add nematodes on top of it, and then some wear and some. Doesn't need to take 22 years, because we can start working with other professionals. So I'm just a turf breeder. I actually know not enough about fertilizers, herbicides, fungicides, but a good team like we have at the University of Georgia, you can whittle down, let's call it 10,000. We made 10,000 new Zoysia hybrids last year. Cool. And so we can whittle it down pretty quick. Then you go to your other experts and you put it at the other research stations in Athens, Georgia, up there near Atlanta, whittle it down quicker. Go to your region, faster, go to the national trial, start taking it sod growers in Georgia, sod growers in Texas, sod growers in California. And I've left a lot of sod growers out right there, but bring them here. You know, we sent stuff here through quarantine, comes out a year later, and then y'all have a whole different environment, and using y'all's expertise to help pick a variety.
I think what you showed at the conference, there was 2 interesting things, and I think it'd be awesome to maybe share that photo with the fanatics. You had this photo of a Zoysia trial. I think you took them through a freeze or something, or it went through a cold period. And there was just photos of thousands of plots, and there was probably one grass in the middle of everything else that had been frosted except for one. And that would be interesting to just show the fanatics that that's how you actually pick the winners. You know, it's just a numbers game. You're just putting
we
thousands.
might try and insert that photo in the bid there somewhere. Just test my editing skills.
And then the other one, you mentioned the national trials, and we have, you know, the marketing in the turf industry, I find people mislead people, and you spoke about it. It is a numbers game. The one that wins the most, or is performing at all these locations, is probably going to be the best grass.
Yeah.
And what's pretty clear about Tiftuf is you played the numbers game. Like, it took you that long, but you put it through so many national trials, and it outperformed everything on so many levels. You'd probably have to say that at the moment, there's nothing really comparable to it from a, you know.
In my research program, we can't beat it yet, which is a little frustrating for me. I mean, it's my whole job to beat Tiftuf, but that just is
beat your own baby.
It is, but it's a great variety that was tested so long, and we'll work hard at it. But at the same time, we don't want to just abandon it because I'm in need for something new. But you hit on something. We're breeding a perennial crop that's supposed to last someone a long time when they buy it. And as we all know, weather patterns are shifting. Y'all were dry a couple years ago. You're wet as all get out now. And you don't want someone who's just spent that much to just lose their lawn.
No.
Versus, so my background was actually row crop breeding. Every year you're gonna harvest until under your corn, pick until under your cotton. And that was my life before. So if you put out a new variety next year, the farmer didn't care as long as it yielded. You can't do that in turf.
Yield numbers, isn't it?
It is, and they're turning the field every year. And so new variety every year. Farmer does not care if it's yielding.
We'll actually see a little bit of that now, because we've recently bought a weekender out in 3 hours away. and it's out in cotton and mainly cotton and sorghum.
Yeah.
Those sort of areas. And
it's good country though. It's good soil.
Yeah. You see
probably
that
wouldn't be too far off what Georgia would be like.
You see that a lot with like the billboards on the side of the road. They sign for this sort of sorghum and it's guaranteed this much.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's different with turf breeding. We want it to stick around for that end user, and just a little bit more. We're blessed by a good support in the U.S. for turf breeding. You probably hear of other varieties. You know, many came from Tifton, but also Latitude 36, Tahoma 31.
That's what I've got in my yard now.
And Latitude 36.
He needs to get rid of it.
They talked me into it.
No, I've been trying to talk you into a zoysia or something.
Well,
just new one that they've got apparently.
This other one. Yeah. But so we're actually competitors but teammates.
Yeah.
We have big grants together.
Is that Oklahoma?
Oklahoma State, Texas A&M, University of Florida, NC State, UC Riverside. You know, I've seen Tahoma 31 for 8 years now, maybe, with Yangshi, and we're trying to beat each other, but what we're really trying to do is rise turf up.
Yeah.
Because to use an older variety that maybe for us uses more water or is not as shade tolerant or is costing the farm more input, we don't want that.
No.
We want to go to the future. And yes, I think mine's the best, to be honest with you. But I'm just kidding. But we're all trying to improve turf and the industry as a whole.
Yeah, it's not just drought tolerance is huge, but it's the low nutrition, because ultimately that's money out of the consumer's pocket. If you're breeding a low nutrition plant, then they don't have to pay as much fertilizer inputs and all that sort of gear.
I think one
you
thing
don't want, because you're a fertilizer guy.
Yeah, I hate that. No. No, one thing that's always fascinated me about plant breeding, and I had the opportunity to go to a TPA conference in Chicago, and there was some guys, USDA guys there, but the cool season breeders, and I asked them the question, you know, because it is like kind of, you're spitballing at times, like how do you know that your parent stock is the right stuff to start with, you know? And then how do you know where to stop? Like, so you got Tiftuf now, but how do you know that you've taken that lineage, or like in that breeding trial, like far enough, if you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the thing that I'm like, you know, is there a possibility that you can back the wrong horse from the start? You know what I mean?
There is. So row crop breeding is very methodical. I'm going to do this many crosses. We have this much plot land. We go this many farms. Bam, a variety. Y'all may or may not have heard of it, but the art of plant breeding. Sometimes it's just your eye and a gut, and your buddy Billy tells you, I like that one. So you can back the wrong one, but hopefully there's enough safeguards to put you back to the right one. Or if you get a gut feeling and enough observations and you talk to experts, and you can run with a good one. And then, man, the neat and bad thing is environments change quickly. New diseases roll in. We were talking about a disease I'd never heard about back in the States here. It's like that with wheat. It's like that with turf. The environment will change, and there's a need for us to keep pushing, because genetics sometimes fail.
I guess so.
Are you a cylinder or a helicopter guy?
Auto mower. Auto mower.
Well, technically helicopter.
Helicopter, like replaceable razor blades.
Yeah. Well, I suppose if you're spending all your days and probably a lot of nights in a research lab, you don't have time to do it, do you?
And you don't really want to be honest with you.
You probably mow it all. Enough grass at work.
Mow it all day. Do I really want to do this? And I do love grass. I have young kids right now. Yeah. Time is limited. Yeah. And I try to keep my lawn better than my neighbors. It's not great, but it's better than theirs sometimes.
Yeah, we don't like to shame our neighbours, because you don't know what's going on in their lives as to why they've got a horrible lawn.
That's true.
Sometimes it's not their fault. Otherwise, it is. But it's good to have a better lawn than your neighbour.
Have you had the opportunity here in Australia yet to do a chance selection?
A chance selection?
As in, like, travel around the breadth and width of Australia and just pick like Bermudas as such, or in America, have you had the chance to do that yet? In
America, I don't really need to, because the guys before me loaded the stable. So that we have tons to work with that's just around. Here, there was a collection, was it Lambrides?
Yeah.
Who went out and came and talked about them, and maybe a lot of neat stuff here I haven't yet. I don't know if that's in my future. I would like to do it just for my interest.
Let me know. I'll go with you.
Yeah, there you go.
Coalport Cooch.
Yeah, well, Lenny, yeah.
I used to work at a coal export terminal.
Okay.
And they had this hard road base track that the dozers used to trample up and down all the time.
Okay.
Never got watered unless it rained. Dozers crawling, 100-ton dozers crawling over it all the time.
Wow.
And there was a Bermuda growing on the road.
That's
so
awesome.
heavily compacted.
We had it growing in a pot.
I don't even know where that went.
We'll go back out there and get it again, I reckon.
I don't have my maritime security anymore. I've left that industry now.
But have you ever, because I love doing this, but have you ever just been walking along and been like, wow, and just taken a piece?
Yes, yeah. So many water bottles. Susan, my wife, will attest to shove one in the water bottle, put it in the car, see if we can bring it home from wherever we are in the United States. Then she just lives with it now. She's hey, you forgot your water bottle in the car. Oh yeah. So.
She's a tolerant woman.
All right, well, I'll start saving water bottles and let me know when you want to go do it, and we'll do a road trip and we'll go collect grasses.
Awesome. I like it. I like it.
Well, Brian, thank you very much for your time, and hope you've enjoyed your trip down under.
It's been awesome.
Yeah. So sorry we couldn't help with the weather.
No, this is fine.
We'll blame Mix Up.
Mix Sutton. Yeah, I like it.
Thank you.
Thank you. This has been great. Thank you.
Cheers, Brian.
Yep.
You're right, buddy.